You journeyed far to be here, heeding the call of the Queen herself.
I am CouchQ, and I review local co-op, split screen and single player video games. We're going to be looking at Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. I haven't scrutinised the game on a split screen level for over 2 years. Been some patches go bust, and more importantly, it's on PSN Extra at the moment, and then we get Borderlands 3 on the 6th. On the standard PlayStation Network access level, which is very cool. It's a brilliant opportunity to be able to try both of these games, and they all have rip-roaring split screen and a vertical split. Tiny Tina's is the most recent out of the studio, so it sports some of the more easy to read inventory issues that we saw in Borderlands 3, and unfortunately some of that is still there in Borderlands 3. This is not an ARC situation though. Stand by for some confusion, because Borderlands and Tiny Tina's Winter Assault was something that was around on Borderlands 2 as a piece of DLC, and they even put it out as standalone DLC. Borderlands 2 came with about 8 expansions, and that Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep was by far the strongest. You can access Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep on the PlayStation 4 and 5 as a standalone piece of content. It's pretty crazy. It looks nothing like this. It's Future Coop should have edited in some of the footage from my review of it, which I'll also link in the description. I so recommend that you explore that if you haven't done so already or have got through Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Now let's talk about that, because 2 years ago it was the PlayStation 4 version upgraded to the 5 spec. It went onto my SSD and there was a cost involved, but the version that's on PSN Extra is the next level edition, which comes with the Dragon Slayer DLC, and I was like, wow, new levels, loads of new stuff, new biomes. Turns out it's just a bit of high-end loot. It's not really worth getting that excited about, but it's still something a little bit extra if you've only ever played base game Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. How is anyone still going to be listening after that, mate? You've got a brilliant ability of producing some of the most mundane intros on the platform. Let's move on to performance, because this game does look noticeably different to the 2023-2022 versions that I got deeply involved in. I got about 3/4 of the way through this on a single player level, and then about halfway through on split screen, but I'm really keen to see what endgame looks like, because there is some unbelievably enchanted, crazy mushroom forest places every Borderlands fan needs to see, and I just love the art style. I love the character design, monster designs, and just where they set a lot of their levels. This is not an exception. The white sanded beaches, its unique pirate theme just for this section, and all the change out that you see, all that variety in the opening 5 to 10 hours of the game is kind of mind-blowing. More so switching out performance and quality modes. That first 2-minute section was on performance. We've now gone over to quality, and then I switch it back at the end of the video. The quality does have a noticeable frame drop in busy areas, but it still looks pretty damn resolution rich. The frame rates on the performance mode are just amazing. We stuck with it. You really just want smoothness if you've got the 2 screens going and everything's very hectic. The quality mode in 2022 was not really playable, and that also goes for Borderlands 3. Only split screen though, they just really struggle with keeping the frame rates up. But this is a lot better. That is definitely an improvement. It's just preference really. I much prefer to see a constant frame rate on a first person shooter, particularly split screen. I suppose I should talk about what the Borderlands series and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands are in regards to actual game model or genre. They're very famous first-person looter shooters. Borderlands 1 kind of smashed things on the market. It has also stuck to its split-screen roots right the way through the series up to Borderlands 3. All eyes on Borderlands 4, obviously. The main hook with this game comes in 2 directions for me. First off, getting all the cool loot, ranking up your character, really getting some difference on variant with the magic. Borderlands 3 just comes with grenades, which can get a bit off the hook, but this one goes crazy with killer sheep, giant meteors, spinning swords. It's kind of a joy seeing what you can get out of your character build. Secondly, it's got a really good death revive mechanic, which involves you having to kill something whilst being on your knee in a set time period. It adds tension. You might have to call your buddy in to give you a hand to chip down the energy, and if they kill that thing by accident, you are quite literally left for dead. And respawning costs money, and it's a percentage of how much you've got, so the more loaded you are, the more you're going to get stung. Also, quality mode, visuals, waterfall. This is probably one of the better looking first person split screen shooters available, full stop. Briefly, just on that UI subject, this is blatantly designed for an easy read experience, particularly with that vertical split. I can't talk for the horizontal, but Borderlands 3 really struggled with that early doors. We don't need to mention Ark again, you just did. Also clean forgot about the sharks. Don't know how I managed that, because one of them's on the front cover. I wanted to talk briefly about that other difference from Borderlands 3 against the magic. You also have quite a big emphasis on R3 and the swinging of your weapon. It's an actual slot in your inventory, and it's very cool getting scythes, swords and double-headed axes that have their own stats or even special abilities. You can also jump and slam using the circle button to create a sort of area effect. We saw a bit of that in the pre-sequel in the anti-gravity sections, I seem to remember. Having those changes with the grenades, the magic and the close quarters swinging of the weapon does make the game feel a little bit different, but it still clings on to its amazing looter shooter style projectile weapons, modern ones, snipers, but it also injects this sort of medieval crossbow angle, and that goes with the enemies, giving you skeletons, crustaceans, mercenaries, killer mermen, monsters of every angle and degree come at you in this game, and it never has downtime. It's always got some funny side quests to do, or some area of that massive semi-open world section map that you get given. There is at least 150 hours here. Is there anything that I particularly don't like about it against Borderlands 3? Back to that semi-open world comment, it's got a level selection system, which is kind of like an overhead, almost tabletop-like, where you're moving around a model of yourself. It's very tedious. It does try and offer you choice on what to do and when to do it, but it's just something I could have done without. And the writing is a little bit W-O-K-E. That's all I need to say on that front. Not yet over. We found ourselves in a side quest horde mode section with crustaceans that came out with all manner of elemental blight. We were stuffed down into a corner and just rushed. It was excellent. Really had to use all of our specials, revive each other, keep our eyes on the other person's screen. It was pretty high-end split screen first person action. Final major selling point on this game is also its lack of gore or bad language. This one is totally accessible for most of the family. Can't really say that about Borderlands 3, and I have been Couch Coop, and I hope to see you down there.
도망쳐, 이브.